Awesome. Well, today we're going to talk about eSIMs and all the different ways that you can use eSIMs within the Peplink ecosystem. And so there's going to be a lot of information, and then we're going to do a cross our fingers and hope to die demo. So we'll see if it works or not. Um, so yeah, so my mouse is not going into my. There it goes. So there's two types of eSIMs on our routers. Either a BYO eSIM, that is, partnering with carriers like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile in the U.S., or Rogers in Canada, or someone else in another country, or even an MVNO. So if you partner with any of these MVNOs out there, they'll give you a code, and you can push those out. So it is not restricted to Peplink. It is bring your own eSIM, and there are a lot of eSIM providers out there right now. And so we did some testing with Vin and Webbing, and they sent us an eSIM code one time, and it worked perfectly. I had we've done tests with Verizon, and they've worked really well. And so basically anybody can give you anybody that supports eSIMs can give you their activation code and then push a SIM card electronically to the device. The other option is Peplink's built-in Bootstrap eSIM. And this has been in a work in progress, and I've seen great strides and the reliability as well as the adoptability on all the different hardware as we get new chipsets pushed out to the hardware for the Peplink eSIM data. But the idea is that you have a 0-day, always available eSIM on your device, so you can get these devices online and then push, because anything you want to do on these networks, if you want to have a Peplink router and do zero touch deployment, you need to have it on the internet, right? You've got to be able to push the configuration. You need to configure potential WAN settings if you're setting a static IP for your broadband provider. Um, and so we need to get these things online. And I think the best thing that Peplink's done to do that is build an eSIM right into the hardware. And they've done that. And I think they've done that well. And I'll show you the interface of that later. The benefits of the eSIM. Easy SIM management. You don't have to think about the physical SIM cards, doing a truck roll, updating them, getting them out getting someone on site, or opening a bunch of boxes, plugging in SIM cards to all the boxes, right? I mean, it used to be, okay, let's open up 200 boxes and plug in a whole bunch of SIM cards. You don't have to do that anymore, right? You could just push the serial number, or the serial number, or the EID or IMEI, depending on who you're activating with.
No, just like
We're,
losing SIM cards, dropping them.
yeah.
When you're putting
Oh,
200
dude,
units out, like I
I
know
got
you.
I got stacks and stacks of SIM cards. You guys can't see my desk because of the background, but it's crazy. Um, so the other thing is worldwide coverage. With eSIMs, you can literally go anywhere in the world and have the capabilities to push local carrier SIMs or MVNOs out to those routers. And so the ability to scale and deploy anywhere is increased. Remote provisioning. So once again, I kind of already said that, but just because it's on the slide, with eSIMs, you can push these out remotely. You do not need to physically touch the router, which is a huge benefit, especially when you're doing large volume of devices. It's designed for reliability. Multiple carriers available with one plan. So if you're using an MVNO, um, you can um, you can push out a multi-carrier SIM and have AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile on one SIM card, and that's always nice. And then some eSIM platforms, and not all of them, but some of them support on-demand data. So you can pay for the data as you use it, which is another benefit. You're not paying monthly fees for connectivity plans. And that's going to be mostly MVNO plans, but you'll be able to push out an eSIM and then deploy that out as appropriate. Yes, with BYO eSIMs, you do not need a physical SIM. You just push the eSIM electronically.
I was just getting to that one too.
So to manage and monitor your SIMs, including eSIMs, Peplink has built the SIM pool data usage or SIM reports section. And so um, you can configure pooled plans. And kind of a fun thing, if you're an MSP and you're on this call, or like you're doing network management, or you're a Peplink partner on this call, one of the things that we have done or started to do is we will actually, and I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but we buy bulk pooled data, and then we use the SIM card plans, the SIM card pools, and we put in the customers' IMEIs, and then actually make sub pools for our customers. Um, and you can do that with this SIM pool data usage under SIM pools in the organization level. And it creates a little report, allows you to see their usage. You can do monthly, yearly plans. So you can buy a bulk of data and then subset that out for your customers. And so it's a really cool way to do that. Or if you're a big enterprise, you can buy a bulk of data and subset that out to your business units. Maybe you have you know different business units available to your company. And so either way, you can use SIM pools to manage that. And then say you're using like T-Mobile 5G and you buy a big pool, you can put your pool information here and then actually manage and monitor the usage of that pool. So it's not just for NVNOs or for partners. You can use this to manage your pools and then actually have that monitored inside in control. So if you have 2,000 SIM cards and you have a 7 terabyte pool, you can put that here, add all your IMEIs, and then manage and monitor that effectively and create reports against it.
Yeah, and this feature works at the organization and the group level, so you can get
Yeah.
really custom, and you can use the organization level for your kind of internal enterprise reporting, and then customer level can be at the group level. There's just tons of flexibility with this feature, and it's not just for eSIMs, but it sure pairs nicely with them in terms of keeping track of what data is being used where, and how much is left.
Kevin asked if U.S. carriers support eSIMs. We actually we will be doing a test today. I just got my eSIM for T-Mobile and Verizon, and so when I do my demo, I will be attempting to make this work. We're not able to get the eSIM for AT&T, but they did assure us they're going to try. So not only am I going to do this, but I'll also create a follow-up YouTube video with literally step by step going to the account management, activating the eSIM, pushing it on Peplink. For all three carriers. We're just getting the process from AT&T right now. T-Mobile was pretty easy. Verizon was also pretty easy to get those under the business accounts. I can't speak to residential accounts, but both were very easy under business accounts to get them. So we'll just hope they work later today when we do this test. Is there any better? So eSIM versus SIM injector, and I don't have a slide for that, so I will talk about it. The SIM injector, and we have a previous webinar about this, but the SIM injector takes a physical SIM, converts it into a digital signal, and then sends it to a module, a SIM mod, or SIM modem on the Peplink routers. So it's converting a physical SIM to a digital signal. And so you have to be on the internet. You have to have access to that SIM injector, and then you still need the physical SIM. So if you're using a centralized SIM injector like with remote SIM, there are benefits to that where we can deploy and push physical SIMs to different devices. And so you're going to have it's a different type of benefit. So with the physical SIMs, they're, especially under business accounts, they're usually not locked to an IMEI. So if I had 200 physical SIMs, I could push them to my routers and move it around. So I've got 150 police cars driving around. I can say any police car that turns on, talk to that SIM injector, grab a physical SIM, and I'm only paying for data for deployed police cars, right? And so that's the benefit of a SIM injector. The eSIM is allowing us to actually push electronic SIMs without a physical SIM to devices. And so different benefit, and and so that's going to be kind of the idea there. And Brock, I could have an entire conversation on that. So if you ever want to talk about it, we could. Is there a directory someone shows international eSIM providers? Not that I know of. We'd have to. I mean, there's so many global providers out there. You're just gonna have to check with your local providers and see if they support eSIMs. But basically, if they support eSIMs and can give you an activation code, you can make that work. John asked if there's any thoughts on small-time users. This is actually a really cool one. And John, I'm going to answer that later. That's a good question. And when we talk about SFC data, I'll talk about that, as well as this anonymous here. I'll talk about that when we go to activation. I just want to make sure there's okay, perfect. Yeah, so we have our SIM pool data usage. So you can click configure, and then you'll have IMSIs or ICCIDs. You can do both, and then you can do configure quota, set your quota to either daily, monthly, or yearly. You can set the initial utilization. So if you're coming in partially utilized and adding it, you can add your existing pool there. You can add some notes, and then you can put your notifications, email, push, or HTTPS, and then stop routing user traffic whenever the bandwidth is exceeded. So here's a nice way to cap yourself. And I've had customers where they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting the data to be that expensive, especially if you're on a metered plan." So here you can set up limits and say, "Hey, allow 10 gigabytes, but then shut it off after that," or at least send us a notification. eSIM activation is pretty easy. You go to the device, and then you can go to eSIM activation, and then you can input manually, or you can scan a QR code. And actually now there's a API call where it'll reach out. It says auto discover, and so it'll try to auto discover as well for like some of the major carriers. Oops. To delete an eSIM, you go to eSIM deletion, and then you'll be able to select the SIM card and then remove that SIM card. So you can activate and delete SIM cards through InControl. You do need internet access to do that. Use your own eSIM to connect to Peplink device to the internet. With more and more carriers supporting eSIM plans, you can now bring them directly to your network. No more fumbling about manually inserting SIM cards. For BYO eSIM activation, you have to have at least 8.4 firmware. We do recommend updating to 8.5.1. There are significant improvements of that. You also need to make sure the device is registered in InControl. We use InControl to manage the eSIM activation, so this does require InControl. You have to have an active internet connection. You have to have an active care plan subscription, and then the eSIM activation or QR code provided by the mobile router. So optional, the EID may be required for some activations. And so we just talked about like eSIMs needing internet to be activated, and then you're like, well, we're talking about zero touch. And so the eSIMs, the router has to actually receive the eSIM, and so it either needs to be connected to Wi-Fi or it needs to be connected to a bootstrap or something so they can download that eSIM. And hopefully, so one of the things that we'll show you here in a few minutes is how to basically create your own bootstrap infrastructure, where then you could bring these routers online and then push your own BYO eSIMs out. Once you add your own SIM card to the device, it'll show up here under SIM card. You'll see BYO eSIM A, and you'll add it as an additional priority. And then down here in the very, very bottom, there's a little scroll bar. You can scroll left and right so you can configure each of these SIM cards. And this is, it gets long, right? If you have 3 or 4 eSIMs in there, plus the SIM A, SIM B, the remote SIM, the Fusion SIM, the PEP SIM, you add a lot of different settings here. And so each of those SIM cards has their own subset of settings, which you then can scroll left and right for. So if you are like, hey, my custom settings aren't working, a lot of times people just program SIM A thinking they're configuring their BYO SIM or even their remote SIM settings. So you got to scroll over and find the matching name for the SIM card you're configuring. It is a common mistake that's made.
Yep, I've maybe done that once too.
I did it when I first started playing with it. I was like, where is the BYO? So the number of SIM cards that you can use on your device depends on the number of cellular modems that are built in. For instance, the Transit Duo has 2 cellular modems, therefore it's capable of using 2 eSIMs. Additionally, each eSIM can store two profiles, allowing you to have further expand So basically, just like we have SIM A and SIM B, each eSIM supports 2 profiles. So you could have 4 eSIMs on an HD4. On a MBX HD4, I'm sorry, on a Transit Duo. On an HD4 MBX 5G, you'll have 4 eSIMs, 2 eSIMs per modem, giving you 8 total eSIMs that can be profiles that can be pushed out to the device. So on top of BYO eSIMs, we also have the Peplink eSIM data plans. And those allow you, we call a lot of times is referred to as a bootstrap, but you can use them for data as well. So with Peplink eSIM data, because it's already loaded on the router, you can bring infrastructure online without the need of internet because it's already there. So a lot of times, if customer has their own BYO eSIMs they want to push out, we'll say, hey, buy like 10 gigs of Peplink eSIM data, bring your routers online with that, then you can push your eSIMs out to the devices and then use the Peplink eSIM as a backup. So in the event that something goes wrong with that carrier, it'll then fail over to the eSIM data. What's nice about it is it's on-demand data. So you can access on-demand data plans and only pay for what you need anytime, anywhere. You access multiple networks under one plan. So, if you're in the US, that's all 3 carriers covered under one data plan. This is supported in 50 countries. So there's different data rates and different quantities for different countries. But the idea is you'll be able to roam in your country and or across countries for one set fee. Affordable internet backup, especially with the new North American EU plans, you can back up your primary connection with LTE or 5G for under $7 a month. And so the idea, once again, is instead of paying really expensive monthly fees for a pool of data you might or might not use, you can use the Peplink eSIM data and then have all the major carriers and then have that redundant. So you don't need to have an account with all 3 carriers. You could literally just have one SIM card, all 3 carriers. And then it's simple and convenient. You can I have an automatic light and it shuts off on me sometimes. There we go.
It's in the dark.
Yeah. And so simple and convenient, you can manage every device and eliminate data wastage from a single platform. And I'll show you that in a few seconds. There are new single device data plans. And so these are per device. So you can buy these plans on a per device basis. You can also buy global pooled data plans. These are per organization, and they allow you to buy either 250, 500, and 1 terabyte of data as well, or actually up to 2 terabytes, 5 terabytes, and 10 terabytes. So from 250 gigs all the way to 10 terabytes, plans D through J. And these allow you to buy global pooled plans. So basically, if you have small amounts of data, you could buy like a 20 gig plan or a 50 gig plan for your device, or you can buy like a 250 gig plan and apply it to your entire organization. And like I said earlier, as a technology company, I like to buy the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte plans, and then we split those up among our customers using the SIM pool, and it's really, really nice. So, or if you're an enterprise, and what's cool about these plans is there's no monthly fee. On the global pooled plans, this is a 1-year valid date. So you can buy plan F, have 1 terabyte of data, and literally it doesn't matter which one of your routers or how many routers you have set up, it's going to work on those all of your devices seamlessly.
Yeah, I think that's just the most convenient for backup, right? If you've got 100 locations, you don't have to pay any per location per month charges. It's just that pool plan for all your devices, and you let it get used up where it's needed, and it's just simple. And that, again, that saves a lot of people money for those scenarios. If they're facing a backup scenario where they're not sure if they're going to use the data, that pooled plan is an excellent fit.
Yeah, 100%. And with the 2 plans, the global plans cover North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific regions. the North America plan covers North America, and the Europe plan covers the Europe. So your single device plans are region specific, or North America and Europe. And then the global plans are North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific regions, depending on where you're traveling. So some frequently asked questions. What's the difference between SpeedFusion Connect usage and Peplink eSIM data? SpeedFusion Connect is our public bonding service. We've done some other webinars on that. So if you have not seen that, you can go look at those webinars. But the idea is, especially small operators, they might have, just a single router or a small group of routers, and they just need to bond for dirty internet access. And so the idea is that you can use SFC to bond and protect. And so with the SFC, that's your bonding service. The Peplink eSIM data is the data utilization. So you can bond a cable modem and a 5G together and create a hot failover. And then you put Microsoft Teams or your point of sale over that, and you could use your broadband and not use your data. And then only if the broadband fails, the data kicks in. And that's the idea, is that you could have, every single minute of every day, your point of sale transactions are going over SpeedFusion Connect, but not using any of your data. And then your broadband provider fails, the SpeedFusion, the PEP eSIM data kicks in, and now you're only using that data during the time of the broadband failure. The broadband returns, eSIM gets shut off, and now you're back to using just your broadband service. And the SpeedFusion Connect service, the bonding service, protects that and creates that single point of internet access for you. Does my device require special firmware to support to support Peplink eSIM data plans? Besides the Max adapter, all supported devices require 8.3 or above for eSIM data plans. And right now, like I said, I recommend 8.5.1. It definitely has a lot of improvements for SIM cards and SpeedFusion. But you have to have at least 8.3 according to that. But the first slide said 8.4, so I'm not exactly sure which one is which. But I would say 8.5 be on there. Is there an option for a physical SIMs? Yes, you still have the option for your eSIMs or a physical SIM. So you can, but shipping physical SIMs will roughly take 6 to 8 days. Peplink does have a physical SIM card as well. I actually have one right here. So yeah, so prior to the eSIM data, you'd have the physical SIM, and this was the Peplink data plans. And then can I leverage a single Peplink eSIM data plan for use on multiple devices? Yes, if you get the pooled data, that applies to your organization, and then you can share that pooled data among all of your devices. Peplink eSIM data plan now supports non-Peplink devices. And so you can actually purchase eSIM data and assign it to non-Peplink devices, and you'll find the ICC and the activation QR code and a URL in the Peplink portal when you check out. So you just buy the data, and then they'll give you the code. So you can actually apply this to a cell phone or a tablet or a laptop, or even other routers that support eSIMs that aren't Peplink. And so you can use our data plans on non-Peplink devices. I will say having it on Peplink devices is very easy to manage, and it's clean.
Yeah, I think that pooled option would be very convenient for some scenarios, like with tablets and devices.
Exactly.
And honestly, just like in the US, that Peplink eSIM is like the best roaming SIM ever. Like if my preferred carrier isn't working at this location or that location, I've always got that 3 carrier connectivity on that eSIM side, and it works great.
Yep. After activating your eSIM, you'll check your eSIM information, and you'll be able to see your pool information and your your user account for your eSIM under the SFC portal. So you see there's the Peplink portal, and then there's your eSIM and physical SIMs, and you'll be able to track that. And so portal.peplink.com will show you that. And Q&A. So I'm going to do a demo. So let me close this out. So I have my In Control. So in Control, I created an eSIM lab. I've got 2 routers, a BR1 and a Transit Pro E. And so the first thing I did is I went to sfc.peplink.com and I went to eSIM pool management, and I have a 1 terabyte pool plan under my Peplink University organization. And you can see my devices that are in this. Now, if you notice, I have 1,009 gigabytes, and I have this Transit Pro Duo with 2 SIM cards. You can see the 2 SIM cards there. If I click on that and remove the device, hit confirm, it will actually remove that device, take those 2 gigabytes and put it back into my plan. So you can see now I have 1,010 gigabytes. And so it's going to remove that data and give me what the unused data back, rounded to the nearest gigabyte. And so don't freak out if it's 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabytes off based on, you know, your aggregate when you remove. But the idea is that I can remove that device, get my gigabytes back, which is awesome. The other thing I can do is set up an auto top up amount. So here I can click edit and I can say automatically add 1 gigabyte when it hits 500 megabytes. We actually had a customer that they were using more than 500 megabytes like per minute of utilization, and it was actually going through the data so fast it couldn't top up fast enough. So here you can say, you know, reload me at 5 gigabytes and give it 10 gigabytes, for example. And what it'll do is it'll push 10 gigabytes to these SIM cards, and then as soon as they hit 5 gigabytes, it'll reload them with another 10 gigabytes, keeping it above so that way they always stay on the internet to get their refresh plan. Otherwise, once they run out of data, you have to wait a few seconds for it to run out of data, and then the SIM and then to push in more data to the device. And so if you're using data really fast, you'll actually want to set these top-up settings. So that way you're keeping it loaded at the rate at which you're using the data. So you can change your auto top-up amount. But then like I said, you can remove devices just by clicking on them. And then you can add devices, go to add device. I can take a serial number. I can select a serial number, or I can go by device name, and it'll give me a list of device names. Or I can do it by group and select a group like my BR1 case. Or I can select a model. So I can say, show me my B1 5G. I can select this B1 5G, click next, select the router. There's my ICCID, click confirm, and it's going to add that B1 5G to my pooled data plan. And that's how easy it is. I then have a device history that I can see my adding and removing of devices. I have a data history. I can see the utilization. So there's my 2 gigabytes that got added back. You can see that right there. And then I can see my order history. So adding my 1 terabyte of data. So with the pooled data plans, you once again, you can buy these and anywhere from 250 gigs all the way to 10, or probably even more if you really asked for it, gigabytes. And then you can push those out, and then it's managed at the organization level. So super nice and clean, really cool feature there. So once you do that, I can go into my routers and I can see my BR1 Pro 5G. I can click on my BR1 Pro 5G, and then you'll see there I'm connected to Verizon, and there is my eSIM is Peplink eSIM is active. So I can push BYOS eSIMs. Now, I'm going to be doing this on the fly, so hopefully this works. So I have this BR1 Pro 5G. I'm going to go to Settings, Device Tools, click eSIM Activation, and here I can either scan a QR code or input manually. And there's a website you can go to that says QR code decode. If you get an email with a QR code, you can literally send it to QR code decode. It'll give you the text string, and then you can paste this in. Or you can use your phone on In Control and scan the QR code, or turn on your webcam and then put the QR code there. But because I'm using my webcam here, that's not going to work. So then they give you that code, and I just hit submit. Yes, and you can see right there. I mean, yes, that worked exactly as planned, like I wanted it to. And you can see there it says eSIM profile activated. And so literally now I've got that activated, and I can see that. I also bought a Verizon SIM, so let's see if it works. So Verizon gave me a code. Well, they gave me a QR code, and I did the decryptor. So I'll paste that code right here and hit submit. And this, if this works, I'll have Pep eSIM, Verizon, and T-Mobile. If it doesn't work, we'll just take the win with T-Mobile. So okay, that one didn't work. I probably need a code or something. I thought that was a weird looking string. So I'm sure if I scan it, it'll work. Because I know that it does work. Let's try this eSIM discovery. I wonder if it'll auto discover it. Because that's my Verizon. My T-Mobile one, they gave me a much longer code, and that worked really well. Oh, that says it activated successfully. Okay, well, let's go check the router. So if I log into my router, see if I have 1 or 2 profiles. So if I click on my cellular, okay, it only picked up the one. So I'll have to get the Verizon one working. So if I here now, I've got eSIM A, SIM B, Peplink eSIM, and then BYO eSIM. And so if I go down here to the bottom, I can scroll all the way over, and there's my BYO's eSIM and my Peplink eSIM, as well as my SIM cards. And then I can set my priority. So I can say use my BYO eSIM priority number 1, use Peplink eSIM priority number 2. Actually, I could probably do priority number 4, then use 4, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And so basically what I'm saying is use my BYO eSIM, then try A and B, then fail over to my Peplink eSIM pool data plan. And so that's going to give you the ability to fail over as needed. And you just hit save and apply. And if that'll then kick in, it should fail over to Wi-Fi, and then it'll kick in and then push that out. But when you get that activation code, it's really easy to push out to all of the devices. And then to remove the eSIM, you can just go to settings, eSIM deletion, and then you'll see that right there. I'll be able to click on that and hit remove if I wanted to, but obviously I'll actually want to play with that. So you'll be able to just remove the eSIM right there. Okay, let me scan through some questions here because there are a lot. For the current devices that support Peplink eSIM, is there a web page that shows all eSIM routers, Travis? And I know it's all basically all new routers. But do we have an eSIM support web page?
A list? Oh, that's a good question. There was. I think just the compare.peplink isn't going to give you a list, but it's going to give you a yes, no on any particular model. Other than that, I don't think there's a more comprehensive
Oh, here we go.
list.
Supported models. B1 series. So if you go to peplink.com, technology eSIM, and then you'll see right here, supported models. The B1 series, Balance and X series, HD series, BR series, Transit UBR series, Max Adapter series, and Flex modules. And I'm sure if you click on it, it's going to give you all the SKUs that support it.
Very nice.
So there's your B1 5G and your B1 Plus. If I go to Transit, we got the Transit Duo Pro with specific models. The Pro E, which is what I'm testing with. No, I'm doing with the Pro E 5G. This one right here is what I'm testing with. And then you have the Duo Pro E, which is dual 4G. And then we have the Balance and X series. You can see the 20X, the 310 5G. It looks like the N and the H. The 310X, LTE, GD, GLTE, LTEA, 5GH, and 5GN. 380X with module, 580X with module, EPX with modules, MBX Mini, SDX, SDX Pro. Yeah, so that's all the routers that support our eSIM technology. And you can access that going to peplink.com, /technology/eSIM. Any thoughts on small-time users with a Transit Duo Pro? So the nice thing about our eSIM pool data is it's all three carriers and it's an annual fee. So basically you can buy 10 gigabytes or 20 gigabytes and then top that up as you use it, but it's all three carriers. You get AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon as you travel around the country in an RV or doing like small times sporting events, things like that, where you only need a couple gigs of data, but you don't know which carrier is going to be the best, right? Like one area of Verizon could be better, another area T-Mobile could be better, another area AT&T could be better. And so if you don't want to have to worry about that, and if you have like a Transit Duo or a BR2 Pro, that's going to be basically 4 SIM cards or 6 SIM cards that you would have to purchase, whereas you could buy a pool data of 50 gigs and it's both SIM cards, modules, all three carriers. And then it's just you pay it as you use it. So it's great for small operations. You do the single plan, right? The North America single plan. And then if you have a bunch of devices, you could go to the pooled plan. And then that way, once again, you don't have to buy those SIM cards. I don't think the app is going to do it yet. They're using In Control, Doug. I'm not saying they won't add it to the app later, but right now it's on In Control only. Caleb said you noticed that you're already connected on cellular device won't allow eSIM activation. I was actually already on cellular when I activated that eSIM, and it did work. So maybe that was a bug in the firmware that you had. I would try 8.5.1. Once again, and anybody that's looking at this technology, upgrade to 8.5.1. There are tons of cellular improvements and integrations with In Control that benefit eSIM data. So upgrade to 8.5.1 if you're going to play around with, if you want to play around with it. For sophisticated eSIM management, let's have a side conversation on that. You can email sales@peplink.com. Some eSIMs require data roaming to be checked in the cellular settings page. Correct. Doug said some eSIMs have their own settings. That's why if you go to cellular, any particular settings you might have on your eSIM, you can scroll down, go over, and you can configure all the options for your settings. So you can configure your bands, your 5G. So if this is a T-Mobile eSIM. So I could do T-Mobile 5G SA. If I'm using a static, right, I could do B2B.static, which that won't work with SA because SA doesn't support static. But so you could set your APN. And so all of those settings are going to be done on a per SIM card basis. And if I get my Verizon loading, and I'd have to do that with a QR code, but I can't because I got the camera used for you guys. But if I get the Verizon SIM activated here, you'll see BYO eSIM B. So I'd have the Peplink eSIM A and B. And then you'd be able to see those. So Doug is correct about that. Any plans to release Peplink plans? Travis, Mexico, Latin America?
I'm not sure in those countries specifically. I think again that's another, I would email into sales@peplink.com and let us know
if you
specifically
just
what you're looking for there. It's not impossible, but yeah, we'd need to know more about what they're trying to do.
just let us know. Once again, any of these like carrier or countries that we're not talking about, if you just email sales@peplink.com, and we'll be more than happy to help you with that. Can you configure in advance different eSIMs based on dates? So not in Control, but you could probably use the API and then schedule that out. So In Control has an amazing API. And so if you Google Peplink In Control API, there's a In Control 2 API, and you can actually look at all the different options and commands available there. And then from the In Control 2 API doc, you then can access and check, and then you could basically write your own scripts and stuff to load In Control or utilize In Control using the API. And that might give you the ability to set up your dates, but not with the native features. If I take 2 Peplink eSIM to a max BR2, how to force each of the modems to register? Oh, okay, yeah. So Jorn, I think is how you say that, asked a question of if I have 2 SIM cards on a BR2, how do I force them to register on a specific MNO for redundancy? That's a great question. I don't have my dual SIM on here, but I can simulate this for you here. So imagine you have the Peplink eSIM and then the BYO eSIM. So if I wanted to customize that, right here, there's a question mark under carrier selection and a question mark. I click the question mark and I can say click here. And then if I scroll over to these, the PEP eSIM and the SIM card BYO eSIM A, you do custom PLMN. And right here, you can put in your PLMN codes and you can do them. You can have multiple. So like, for example, on the Peplink eSIM, it supports T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. So you could put in T-Mobile's, AT&T, and Verizon. Say first use T-Mobile, but if T-Mobile's not available, fail over to AT&T. If AT&T is not available, fail over to Verizon. It will not pick the best. It's going to do it in the order in which you state. So if you have a BR2 with 2 SIM cards, you could say, hey, this one is going to be Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. This one's going to be T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon. And then they'll switch between them. And so this one default to Verizon. This one's going to be default to T-Mobile. But if Verizon or T-Mobile's down, it'll fail over to the next SIM card or the next carrier. And so we do this as a standard on all of our BR2 and HD4 deployments with the Peplink eSIM. Very good question, Troy.
That list is a good
Yeah.
pro tip, Peter, being able to put multiple carriers and customizing that
Yep.
selection order.
I actually keep a little text file, APNs. I call it APNs, but it's not. It's PLMN. And so here I've got T-Mobile's, 310260 AT&T, and I have these and I just copy and paste these into that. So literally, you just take this. I could say copy, and then I go into my router and say paste, and then I go back and I switch the different order and paste, and then it's going to connect to those carriers in that order. And you can do that on cellular A and cellular B. I'm just demonstrating it here so you can see it.
Yeah, and I think
very good question.
Doug brought up another good point. Some of these QR code, and it's not specific to eSIM, but some of these plans do require roaming to be checked there too. So when you're scrolling over to find those individual SIM settings and your SIM's not connecting, try that roaming checkbox.
Yeah, so this data roaming checkbox, and you can just check that box right there, and you'll have the data roaming on the BYO eSIM right there, or even on the PEP eSIM. Are you able to name the eSIM so it doesn't just say SIM? I don't think you can rename them. I haven't specifically tried, but
I think you're right, Peter.
Yeah. I don't think they're renamable. I just think it's BYO eSIM A and B. And then if I go to in control, settings, device tools. I will say something kind of cool though. Right here on the dashboard, you see how it says BYO eSIM A is active. So you can see, and then here I can click switch to my Peplink eSIM right there. And so all active SIM cards will show up right here. And then you can actually switch to them and it'll change the priority on the device, on the router dashboard. So you can remotely switch from A to B or from eSIM to BYO. And then you'll see that BYO right there. I don't think you can rename Brock. I couldn't find pricing on the 1 terabyte data plan. Pricing, you should reach out to your partner. I don't think that data's public, or it's, I would reach out to your partner or distributor depending on who you are. It says anonymous, so I don't know who you are. But if I would just reach out to your partner or distributor, and they can give you pricing on the data plans. Also, using multi-network SIMs will help with signal differences and data allowances. Yes, that is correct, Yuri. Caleb, the things that's having 8.5 is reported error attempting to activate. Yeah, if you switch to 8.51, Caleb, it'll definitely fix that problem. Can you go through the GUI interface real quick on the 1U rack injector?
I think that's more
Kevin, you'll have to reach out to me privately. That's not for this, but really funny. I will be releasing per request. We are going to be releasing a Verizon eSIM activation guide, a T-Mobile eSIM activation guide, and an AT&T eSIM activation guide. as specifically as 3 separate videos where we actually log into our portal and run through the process and activate like I just did with the T-Mobile. And you can see here I'm on T-Mobile 5G on my BYO eSIM. So this BR1 now is running T-Mobile 5G. And I should be able to do the same thing with my Transit Duo 5G. So here they gave me this. See T-Mobile gives me this really cool activation code. And so if I just go Control C, dashboard, Transit Duo, or Transit, sorry, I'm so used to saying Transit Duo, Transit Pro, and then device tools and eSIM activation, enter manually, paste. So I'm hoping to get that same thing from Verizon here. They did give me a QR code. I just can't read it here, but you can see it's downloading and hopefully will then be push out to my Transit Pro Pro, sorry. And so that gives, and this is actually an Australian router. The Transit Pro is, it's actually not certified in the US, but I got it as a gift at the summit, which I thought was really nice of the Australian folks. M2M and Rising Connection gave me this gift of a Transit Pro from Australia, and it has heat sinks on it, PoE, and so I've been playing around with it. There you go. And so there's my T-Mobile 5G just pushed out to an Australian Transit Pro, which is kind of cool. And so that did not allow me to activate, and I did try to activate Verizon on that, but they said the EID was wrong, but it did work with the BR1. So I'll figure out how to get that working. But anyways, I'm going to be releasing 3 separate videos, one for each carrier and how we get them to work. I believe it does, at least for us, it's we're on business plans. So this will all be based on my accounts and business plans. Any other questions?
Gone through the list. Lots of questions today. Thank you, everybody. That's fun to see.
And if we didn't, if we didn't answer your question, please reach out to sales@peplink.com. You can also reach out to Travis@peplink.com or Peter W@peplink.com and send us an email, and we'd be more than happy to get you in contact, especially for pricing and things like that. Just send us your region and who you buy from, and we'll get you a quote from your partner or distributor for those services.
I thought it was interesting, Peter. It seems like there's a lot of questions around kind of orchestrating multiple eSIM data plans today. And so I think there's people hungry to do some new things with eSIM. So keep the feedback coming, because those features may not be there. Yeah.
These pooled plans are awesome, guys. If you haven't used these or seen these, I mean, especially if you're a Peplink partner on this webinar, and I obviously I recognize a lot of the names on here. If you're a Peplink partner, you really should play around with this. It's a neat feature, especially for bootstrapping. Even if you're not planning on using it, like if you want to push a whole bunch of T-Mobile 5G, and I'm having a great deal of fun with T-Mobile SA, but I was able to bring these 2 routers online with the eSIM, the Peplink eSIM, and then push my T-Mobile 5G SIMs to both of these routers. And now they're both running T-Mobile 5G as their default, but they fail over to my pooled data. So I'm not sucking up my pooled data to be able to utilize that. And so, so there's a lot of opportunity here to extend our reach, extend our coverage, and provide better tech support to our customers. And this is all done via Peplink, and super, super easy and powerful. Not a sales pitch for partner program, but man, if you are, you should play around with these.
Yeah, just being able to push that as a connection of last resort, right? You can use that pooled data plan as an IC2 only connection that the customer doesn't even get to use, but you can get a device remoted into, troubleshoot, and figure out what's going on. And yeah, it's just a huge time saver for remote administration, remote troubleshooting.
Exactly. And Jorn, thank you. I appreciate that. He said that, we seem to be the leader in physical SIM, eSIM management. And I would agree with that. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to working with you guys more on these. If you have any questions about this, let me know. and we will go from there. So thank you so much. Have a nice time. Thank you, Travis. As always,
Yeah.
I enjoy these sessions. So
You as well, Peter. Always appreciated, and thanks everybody. Take care.
have a good one. Bye.